I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Good evening, this is Dr. Bones Live, and today my guest is Doll. Welcome to the show.
Hello,
Canada. So, first off, Doll, just the name. How did you come up with that? Where did you think of that idea?
I didn't know this was going to be the first question.
Yeah.
It's the main question that a lot of people ask me, and the bottom line is that when I was very young, my great-grandmother used to always say, "Oh, you're such a doll." And throughout my life, people would constantly call me, "You're such a doll, hey doll." And that's normally a term that you would use toward a woman, like back in, the 1920s or 30s.
Absolutely right.
Guys and dolls, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so this just kind of weirded me out. And I just was like, well, and when I was in the midst of recording my first album and working in a record store, many of the customers would be like, "Thank you so much for your help, doll." And I'm like, "Do you know I'm making an album? Do you know me?" And they have no idea who I am, and they're calling me that. So it really stuck with me. And it's a very popular name. There's many. There's a band from Europe in the early 70s that was called Doll, which disbanded and no longer exists. But it's a very popular name, so I had to copyright it immediately in 1998. And still to this day, people don't get it. They're like, "Why? What's this and that?" And I don't know. It's always stuck with me, and my name's pretty boring. My name's Brad, so,
Yeah.
And if you hear that song from Brad today, yeah, it was great. So, it's always stuck with me.
Well, I have to tell you, it is very fitting to your music. I mean, it completely suits it. So it's one of those names that, because sometimes, you hear the names, most of the time they suit the band, but man, this is like completely fitting, and it sounded great. So that was by far one of my biggest curiosities. So,
yeah. Well, for me, pretty much, like when I go on stage, I'm completely different, and having the name Doll also lets me transform into what I want to do. Being that my music is so eclectic, and I dive into different realms of music and different types of music. It's really easy. I can go out dressed as a cowboy. I can go out dressed as whatever. It's really easy with that name to do that kind of thing, like Lady Gaga or whoever. When they're performing. So it's really a stage name. And when people call me that in regular everyday life, I'm just kind of like, thanks.
yeah.
But it's I don't know. It's really one of those things that has really just stuck with me, and people don't get it or they get it, and it is catchy, so I love that. There's a big problem, especially on Twitter, with a lot of porn stars because of my name. Things like I'm getting lots of offers for things that I'm just not interested in, but with that name, it's expected. With that type of name comes a huge responsibility. So I kind of have to live up to the responsibility of what people think a doll is. So some people think, "Oh, doll's like a Barbie doll you play with or whatever," or a doll is someone who's just a really great person that is a really good friend of yours. That's always positive or whatever. So it's it's definitely a game played with that name.
Well, I never thought about it, but when I said you can go out and do what you want on stage, and you know what, that's such a good point, because you absolutely can, because there's a lot of room to move and play with. And
Oh yeah.
that's got to make each show for you like a lot of fun because you can essentially kind of go out there and just be almost like a different person each time you do it.
Oh yeah. Well, Madonna started that in the '80s. I'm kind of an '80s child. I love change. I love different things. I do myself get tired of bands when they come out with their new album and it sounds like the last album. Okay, it was good and it sold millions of records, but you do get kind of bored. And with this day and age of technology and the internet highway and everything, you have to be a little more progressive and a little more interesting to keep people interested in you.
Very good point. I mean, and that's one thing as I've talked about plenty of times before is that, music is constantly evolving, and and that's the way you want to keep it because you're absolutely right. Because you keep the same way, it gets a little boring, and you kind of people start to lose interest because they want different stuff. They want everything to kind of sound exactly the same, even if it is your favorite band, because you still want some sort of change. Because it's like, well, you're right. The last album was good. This one's all right, but they could have maybe done a little bit more here, or maybe progress in this direction a little bit. And I mean, nobody wants like well, I wouldn't say nobody, but there's some people that a full kind of 360 turnaround next album is absolutely stellar and killer, but it doesn't always work. You kind of want to kind of sort of gradually move into the evolution. The next album you do a different, let's say you do a few songs differently, and let's say the tempo is a little bit more upbeat, or you throw in, let's say, a drum loop or something along those lines. And now it's progressing a bit and it sounds good. Now the next step is to do what you had planned next, and that way you're keeping people interested, and it's constantly evolving album by album, and it's just such a good way to do it.
For me, it's definitely a risk, and the risk that I'm taking is that I would hope that people will expect my next album to be kind of out there and different. I will always hold on to my folk roots. I'm really, if I want to just go with my guitar out there and sing and do a song, the great thing is all my songs can be played that way, very acoustically, and the thing is I would love for people to start getting to know me about is that the next album is going to be, what's it going to be? And people will be excited about it. Now, I've given little tidbits of what my next album coming out is that I'm working on and what type of album it's going to be. And the risk is that you can lose fans on that because they're very used to your style of music. So I'm not doing that. So let's just say that my next album is a reggae album.
Right.
And people are like, what is he doing reggae? He's crazy. No crack, whatever. So you can't, it's very hard. It's very risky, but I love music. I love all types of music, and I believe music is, the word of the world, and all kinds of things can be transmitted through that. So I believe in going into different realms and being eclectic and being worldly. That's been a hard thing for me too, because when I go on websites, they're like, what type of music do you play? And I'm like, what do I classify myself as? There's no such thing as just a musician or an artist. So I stick with folk, and I stay in that realm. And I always put an acoustic song on each of my albums, just to stay in with that. But people say, no, you should go under world, or no, you should go under pop, or no, you should go under singer-songwriter. And I'm just like, all right, guess what? It's me, it's my band, so I shouldn't tell you what I'm going to go under. That's the kind of cool part being an indie artist. You really have the control of what you want to do.
Absolutely. You just answered one of my questions about what you generally see yourself as. So that's perfect. We'll skip that. We'll skip that one. Just in general, like obviously you said you have folk roots. Now, have you been playing music for a while? Like a long time? Has music always been like a huge part of your life, or just kind of come into it? We'll say like a little bit later in life. Like it doesn't matter what age, like teens, later on, doesn't matter.
Well, not to bore the listeners with my life story, I will just say that I definitely started in high school going out of my realm where I was doing community theater, I was doing working with bands, going on tour with bands, helping bands, being like a roadie thing,
right,
type of thing. I played big venues. In high school, I was getting paid to do shows, and that's kind of kicked it off. And that was in 1990s. So, but really, working in the music industry, I'm also an artist. I do a lot of painting, and I make a lot of things that I sell, including jewelry. And, I have like 9 jobs because being an indie artist, you can't always count on that paycheck coming in from doing a gig. So, I basically, my first album was in 1998. And that's when it really started blowing up for me. It was hard being a gay musician, even in New York City in the 90s. I mean, you had Madonna with Vogue and George Michael and all these people starting to come out in the industry, but it was still very tough to get in. And my very first song on the album, He, She, was about that a lot of record labels looked at me, wanted to sign me, wanted to work with me, but they wanted me to change the words from he to she in my songs. They wanted me to change the words.
Well, that's not.
That was
that's not cool.
Huge thing.
That's not cool at all, man. Like, you gotta understand, you're an artist and you've put stuff down this way for a reason, and you're not changing it just because they think it may sound better.
Well, I understand the music industry very well, and it's all about what's going to sell and what is marketable. And then a gay artist wasn't really marketable. Now it's like, it's all holds bar. You could be whatever and be up there making music, which is kind of cool. But my first album in '98, and that's where the doll thing came in again, where people are like, you need to copyright your name and patent it and do this, do that, and I did all that back then. And I did my second album with Jeff Haynes, who is a Grammy Award-winning percussionist and producer, and he tours with a lot of bands and stuff, and he was just up for a Grammy this year. Amazing man who I met through my music, heard my first album, said, hey, I have a studio, come jam with me, and it ended up becoming the second album. And then I did the third album with him, and I decided to take a break and just go to college. So I am now a certified teacher. I teach art, and I basically needed something to back me up for my music. And that was about 4 years off. And then Jeff moved. I couldn't get a hold of him. Where's my album? It's in the studio. I have copies. There's all kind of craziness going on. And finally, it was about 4 months ago. I literally just put up my website about 4 months ago and jumped back in the music industry, and everything is going out of whack. Every day I'm getting phone calls. Every day things are going on. It's really exciting because I didn't have this in the 90s. I didn't have this huge computer world and Twitter and Facebook and all of that.
Right.
So it's a whole big experience of things that is happening, and it's really wonderful. I'm really excited about it.
Oh man, that's really good. I mean, I'm glad you've been doing that, and especially getting a Grammy Award-winning percussionist to produce an album with you. I mean, that must have been like a lot of fun and a good learning experience at the same time.
Well, Jeff is the type of person who's so down to earth. It's so cool. And most people are. I mean, I've met so many famous people and musicians and actors and things. When living in New York City, you do that, and you get to realize people are people. But not all people are easy to work with. And Jeff is definitely one of those people that really down to earth, really smart, just amazing with accompanying me with the drums and suggestions and, let's try this, and there were times that we would record a song, and I'd have so much going on. He'd be like, you know what? You just need you and your guitar, and that's it. Like, really? I don't think that's enough. And he's like, trust me. His words out of his mouth were always trust me, and I trusted him, and it led to many, many, many things. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, right on, man.
I'm very lucky. lot of the people in my life that I've met, the people that I know, everything is going on. It's all good.
Well, man, that's really good to hear because obviously music these days and always has been. It's mainly about like networking your product, essentially selling your product, correct? And
well, that's funny because back in the 90s, as Doll, as a band and everything, it wasn't, like I was a product. I was Doll band, which my first album was with Rennie and Belle, who are now Side Street Rennie. They left and moved to California. So kind of like the band split up and they left and they started their own little thing. But they already had their own little thing. They just, did my album with me. And Side Street Rennie is like, we've had lots of conversations even like a few weeks ago talking about, names and promotion and how everything works. And really the bottom line is that you need to be out there doing your music, playing your music, getting your music heard. And people like it, they like it. And if they don't, that can be good too. You just never know. But I did get an invite from this guy that runs companies in California, wanting me to come and speak about Doll as, a product, an icon, whatever Doll stands for in the industry. And I'm like, I'm just singing songs, dude. I don't know what you want me to talk about. So it was kind of basically you want to say, how did you get to where you got to? And it's kind of internet working and all this stuff going on. And it really is, the best form is word of mouth. You can do all this internet stuff, but going out and playing and having somebody say to their friend, oh man, you gotta check this band out, is worth way more than somebody liking you on a Facebook page, because they can like you and then you never hear from them ever again. That can happen too. So,
you know what, that's
it's strange, but I make it a point to be in contact with all of my fans, everybody that comments. I always comment back, I always talk to people, and I think that's important also.
And the fans like that, they love the interaction. I mean, especially for me, like, I know before I do the interviews, I like to know just a little bit of the band, so I try to converse with them a little bit and see what they're all about. But you're right, word of mouth is such a good way, because like I know a lot of bands have said that, Facebook page, you like the page and then they're done, like at least using Twitter or something like that, they at least can talk back and forth. But word of mouth, absolutely. I mean, that's how I pass around most of the music I listen to, is like, whether I listen to it on my show or not, I can go the next day at work and say, like, man, you got to check this stuff out. Like, if you don't have it, like, listen to the show, check it out here. I can make you a copy because you're really gonna dig this. So.
The worst thing is writing a band's name on a napkin, though. That'll never work, because you get the home and then the napkin goes in the washer and it gets washed.
Yeah.
Like, what was that band's name? That's all right. But now with cell phones, I'm out at a bar or out wherever. Not that I'm out at bars all the time. But I'm out somewhere. And, and they're like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, you're on the phone, boom, done. And technology has helped in so many ways, and in other ways, it's disassociated people, because people are liking other people just to get likes back, or they're doing things, just to get numbers, when that's not what it's about. So I'm really careful about who I talk to, who I deal with, and of course, I believe 100% in music and musicians. So on all of my albums, they're all live, real human beings playing instruments. There's no computerized stuff, and I do love that part of the music industry, but musicians themselves are dying very quickly because of the technology and because of what's out there. I can have a band and I can make my own album here at home and not pay anybody, but I really believe in having people. I love the little tiny, you're listening to a song, you feel, oh, they missed a note or something. Well, that makes it real to me. Like little mistakes, little things that aren't perfect. It really keeps it real for me. And I think that it also doesn't disappoint when I'm out playing, because when people hear my music, they have always said that I sound better live, which is great, because I don't want them to say, wow, they sound nothing like the album. That's the last thing that you ever want somebody to say.
You know what? A very good point. Because I mean, it's one of those things that always when I go to concerts, like I'm hoping they'll sound like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be like right on the money, but the stuff you're right. You want to be able to take on the road because there are, like you said, there's a lot of albums where it's way too computer involved and it's hard to kind of recreate that scene on stage unless you have like the millions of dollars or thousands of dollars for the resources.
Oh yeah. And then this whole lip syncing, that sounds good. The lip syncing, it's very, it kills me. I mean, I understand as a singer, if I was going to do a show and I don't want to disappoint the fans and like 24 hours before I get really sick and for some reason I have to lip sync something, whatever, but the whole lip syncing thing and the big drama things that happen, whatever, it really is promoted toward laziness, or I'd say. I mean, a lot of the musicians I know, starting in the 90s and then before people were older than me, and there was such thing as, you get up, you go on tour, you get the band, you warm up your voice, you do all this stuff, and nowadays artists are so catered to. It's very easy, they can get up, go to the studio, kind of like sing something, their voice is put through all this reverb stuff and whatever, and it sounds great, even though it didn't live, and it's just really one of those things that the music industry itself is kind of, it's deceiving the audience, is the best way to put it. It deceives. So when you do see somebody live, you're like, wow, they are horrible. And that's what I never want to happen with me. I would rather go out and sing with a cold and get out and be like, hey, guys, I'm sorry, I have a cold, I'm going to sing anyway. And you know what? The fans are probably going to be like, hey, this dude's pretty cool. He's going to sing anyway. He's, whatever.
Well, that's a good way to go because there are still, we'll call them the diehard band that will still do that regardless. And just two quick things, and we'll get into one of your songs here. The one that really made it for me as far as like vocal range and possible like adjustments done to the voice, but once I saw it live, I was blown away by it. Is the first time I saw Soundgarden because Chris Cornell's got such a deep voice regularly, and to see him up on stage and hit those high pitched notes that he does on the album, that was like, okay, that's awesome, man. That's totally not. So that's totally not manufactured. I was like, that blew me away. It's like, okay, now I was getting so much more respect for this band. I didn't think it was, but I kind of had my hopes high. Just didn't want them to be crushed. But once he started singing that first note, because they opened up with a song off Bad Motorfinger called Jesus Christ Pose, and when he hit that first high pitched note, I was like, man, this guy is amazing.
That would definitely be one of my dreams, just to like hang out with Soundgarden. I'm not asking them to like, do a song with me. Just come and like chill out with me, They're really one of my favorite bands, and like I said, I listen to so many different varieties of music. Like your producer is mainly does jazz. His nomination for a Grammy this year was for a spoken word album. I mean, that just shows you how these people are that I'm working with that are willing to open their minds and step out of the boxes, and that's what gets you places, instead of being the same all the time. But I like all music. I can't help it. I guess that's part of being a musician. It's like as an artist.
Right, no, absolutely. You know what, for the most part, I do like most... All right, it looks like we lost the caller for 1 second. We'll get him back in just one moment. So we're going to take a quick break here and play Doll, Say My Name.
like you serves you well. It can't be. It can't be. We didn't meet in a dream.
John. All right, that was "Say My Name" by Doll. And initially, when he sent me this email, he said it's definitely a fan favorite. But he said he kind of grow just a little tired of the song.
This song has so many different levels to it. I've had this on and off love and hate relationship with Tori Amos, and that song really is dedicated to her. There is very similarities to that song in one of her songs on one of her albums, which is really odd because I recorded mine at the same time and we didn't hear it. So there's some kind of weird psychological weird thing in the universe going on between me and Tori. But I love her. I've given her my albums. You know, there's been interaction with that kind of thing. But when I went with Jeff and was working on it, Jeff was like, I can see this being really upbeat. And I'm like, what? You know, I just didn't see it. So he put in the dress, like congos, like getting all this Brazilian style, really, you know, makes you want to get up and kind of move a little bit. And I was digging it. I was really happy. As a gay artist, it's not bad to have a song that you can dance to. So, a little plus. And basically, Jeff, you know, he's just a mastermind. And I had an opportunity to enter a Grammy contest for this year where he put a song on and people vote on it. And on SoundCloud, that was my most popular song. So I said, let me just put my most popular song on there. And on the Grammy thing, let's see what happens. And it went very far. I didn't make the second tier, but I made the first tier. And for an unknown musician, that's really awesome. A lot of people in the industry heard my music again and made a lot of fans off of it and friends. And so it's just like, because it went on the Grammy website, it was liked by so many people and then became even more popular. So it's just like, again, the computer industry and technology taking something and making it bigger. So, I mean, any song I put on there, it could have got bigger, it could have not done anything. But that definitely is a more fun song. And it definitely goes out to Tori. I love you, Tori. She's just in my heart forever. So.
Right on, man. Well, that's so good. You know what? And speaking of Tori, I was like a big fan of her older stuff, like kind of early, like mid '90s, because pretty much I'm right around the same age group as you. I was in high school in the early '90s, so you're a few ahead of me, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah, people see my pictures on the internet and on Twitter and stuff, and they're like, no one really believes that I exist. A lot of my pictures look very different. I've been blessed with what they call a photogenic face, bone structure, and things, and I can change pretty easily. I did work with Ford models in New York City. I did model for a while in New York City, and I have a modeling portfolio and things. And even in the modeling portfolio, people are like, wow, your looks really are diverse in the range or whatever. I said, well, you know, it just makes sense to connect that with my music. And the hard part with it is that people don't believe I exist. They're like, you are taking pictures off the internet and you're posting them up here and just saying, you know, hey, I took a picture today, whatever, you know, and it's funny. I did actually a contest one day on Twitter. I call it Freaky Friday, and I said, okay, first person that responds gets to dress me today, and the first person that responded did, and she got to pick out what I wore for the day, and I had to go out and do errands and stuff, and it was really fun and entertaining, and then I posted a picture of it on Twitter, and she chose cowboy.
Awesome.
So me as a cowboy, and she said, I really think you're hot as a cowboy, so I did, but she won wanted, and I took a picture, and she was just like, I can't, like, she was just like, I can't believe you even did that. She's like, I love you. And, you know, and that's how you connect with people and have fun with life and have fun with everything you do.
That's awesome, man. One more thing about the pictures, and then we'll get into something that you wanted to talk about a song. And anyways, really quick, on your actual website, one of the pictures up there reminded me, honestly, it kind of gave me a reminder of a Perry Farrell look from Jane's Addiction.
What picture are you talking about?
That was the brown hat kind of pulled over your face with the I guess the sleeveless like shirt, or is it a brown shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Last year. Yes, and I was supposed to be the guy, you know, oh my gosh. From the movies. It has the whip, and he goes to the movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, Indiana
That's what I was
Jones.
supposed to be. And it turned into a picture that people... I kind of like to be mysterious sometimes in my pictures, and sometimes I don't. So having the hat over the eyes, that was kind of like, you know, kind of ambidextrous, kind of just different sexuality. Like some people might say, oh, is that a woman? Is that a man? I love that. I think that's hilarious. I think that's funny. When I do talk to people, I do make sure that I tell them that I am a man. But they know. Just to clarify everything before we get into anything else, but it is a fun thing to play with. It definitely is fun.
That's awesome, man. I guess I just wanted to point that out because it was the first thing that popped in my head. So now let's move into now.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I thought you were going to talk about the pictures for my latest album, because that's what I'm getting the biggest hype about. Because I have really long hair, kind of look like Jesus, and nobody's like, that is not you, and I'm like, yes it is. And they're like, do you have lipstick on? I'm like, yes I do. But that photo shoot was taken in Prospect Park in Brooklyn in the middle of a huge snowstorm. It was maybe like minus 20 degrees outside, and my fantastic photographer, who is amazing, Jeanette Marie Chavez, who is in California now, she had this great idea to go out at like 2 in the morning to the park and take pictures for my album. So we did, and that literally is me laying in the snow for those pictures, and people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, you know, I think living in the model world, you do have to sacrifice, and there are things that models go through that people have no clue when you have to do something. But going out in that kind of weather, I do not advise anybody in doing. It was really horrible. I think I froze every part of my body, including my brain that night.
You know what, man? I don't blame you. Like, the Canadian weather is exactly like that, and this winter has been brutal for low temps and a lot of snow, so I can completely feel you on that one.
Yeah.
So let's get into the song you want to talk about that you were contacted by Brit on a YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited about this. This happened a couple of weeks ago. A British artist who has his own YouTube channel. His name is Stephen Helpner. He has just started it. He kind of like, you know, just documenting his life. And he's going, most of his stuff is about going out and drinking, which I love. I think it's hilarious. It's very fun, very down to earth, like British comedy. And he contacted me and we were talking. He really liked my music, so he used my music in some of his episodes. And I said, listen, you know, you can take this further. You know, put a title on your show, do it up, like do it every week and like do the whole thing. And he said yes. So he said, you know, how about writing a theme song for the show so that he doesn't have to use other people's music? You know, it's his, he owns it, and it's his theme song. I'm like totally down with it. So next week, like 2 weeks, I'm going in the studio to record the theme song for his YouTube channel show. And he is on YouTube, and his YouTube channel is Stephen, and it's capital H, and then the letter 8, the number 8, and then the number 3. So it's Stephen H83. And you should check it out. It's really funny. he's cool guy. Some people don't get British comedy, but I kind of just fell in love with the show. So
Man,
really
I love it, man. I grew up on like Monty Python and stuff like that, so you know, Rowan Atkinson, like the Blue Eyeliner, the Thin Blue Line, like Mr. Bean. Oh yeah, I love it. Can't get enough of it.
Oh my gosh, the Dead Walking Dead. I can't get enough of it. I can't.
That's awesome, man. Like, I can't wait to hear that theme song. And real quick on theme songs, my intro song was done by a band I interviewed about a year ago. So,
I was wondering about that because when it was and the guys talking and it says your show and stuff, I was like, oh, I wonder if I was like, did you record that yourself or did you have somebody record it or those kinds of things? And there's many, you know, with the internet and stuff now, there's many kinds of shows popping up.
Right.
With those kinds of things, and to have a little theme song intro is really awesome. It makes you look really cool.
You know, to be honest, I never even thought about it, and this was like this was in the summertime because I keep in touch with all the bands I've interviewed, and he emailed me. He goes, he says, "Well, what do you think of me doing a sting for your show?" I was like, "That'd be awesome, absolutely."
Yeah.
And like not even a week later, I was like, "This is really good. Thank you so much." But the opening guy is actually it's Ron Burgundy from Anchorman.
Oh.
Or you know, I don't know how to tell you, but I'm kind of a big thing, you know. So that was more or less a joke opening to go along with the theme song, eh? So
I love it. I actually, it's really catchy. And there's sometimes I do walk down the street and I'm like, Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones. Maybe that's like the city guy in me too. I mean, I'm really a country boy at heart. You know, I'm like, yeehaw to everything. Hallelujah. I'm really a country boy, but I lived half of my life in the city, so I have a really good mix. And the city guy comes out every now and then, once in a while, and people are like, what are you doing walking down the street singing? I'm like, just mind your own business.
Yeah. You know, sometimes it's funny. I tell you, in my backyard, this was one night, I was out having a cigarette, and I hear this voice like, what is that? And it's some guy, and he's just giving her. He's got his earphones on, but he's singing death metal, walking down this path from behind. And I am just dying laughing. Like, it's funny, but it was really kind of cool at the same time, too. And like the next day, the same thing. Like this guy, like it just kills me. Like but at least you know people they'll still do that. You know, they can still get into their tunes and just give her and jam it.
I think that's part of why I live in Ithaca now. It was I had to move back upstate to help out my mom, and this was the ideal place for me to live because of the culture, because of the colleges, because of the community. And the saying in Ithaca goes, everything outside of Ithaca is normal. So I fit in here perfectly. It's perfect. I work here. I mean, one of the 9 jobs I have is an antique dealer. So I have an antique space that's found in Ithaca that I just absolutely adore. It's amazing the people that I meet there, people that come in and they're like, wow, you know, this is like a museum, and it's just really fun. It's one of my favorite jobs.
Oh, right on, man. We're gonna have to shut down here just for a minute, but we're gonna start back up in about 5 minutes because we're just about out of time for this part of the segment. So this is Dr. Bones Adal. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes. Until then, Bones out.